here are 5 tips to help you instantly improve your casting distance right away. Tip number 1, push-pull method. This arm pulls, this arm pushes. So it ends up looking like this. Pull, push, and then snap at the end. When you cast, you're gonna take a step like that. Ready? It's gonna go like this, that. At the same time, arms up, this arm will pull down, this arm will push forward. This is how it looks. Not bad, not bad. I'm just putting a handkerchief on here so you guys can see me cast it. Don't do it at home, you won't cast as far. This is just for visual purposes only. So the first cast I'll do is without emphasizing the push-pull method. The second cast I'll do will be emphasizing the push-pull method. Now, as soon as I cast the first one, I'll have my lovely assistant stick a sand spike down to see how far I go. Then I'll do my second method and see how much further or how much shorter it goes. So we'll really be able to see a difference between emphasizing the tip and not emphasizing the tip. Number 1, this is without the push-pull. Not bad, that's still not bad. Okay, so now we're reeled in. Aaron has stuck the sand spike down, and now we're gonna emphasize that push-pull. And it helps to have your arm up higher. That was significantly further. That was significantly further. So let's go walk down and see how far we casted and see what the real difference is. $50 cranks. So this is the first cast when I didn't really emphasize that push-pull method. Now we're gonna walk from here. This took 50 cranks of my reel to get to this one. 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60. So it took 60 cranks to get to the second one right here. 10 cranks is a lot. That was about like maybe 10 steps too. So how far do you think this is, Aaron? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 29 steps. Just emphasizing that push and the pull at the same time got me a little bit further. I think that's a really great tip for anyone who's really trying to improve their casting a little bit further. Tip number 2. Whip. The next tip I learned from someone fishing in Cape Cod. In Cape Cod, sometimes you need to get far to hit busting striped bass really far out there. A huge tip that I learned there was not to just whip it as hard as I can. It's like cracking a whip. When you crack a whip, like Indiana Jones, he doesn't just go like that and whip it really hard, right? He goes like this, slow, and then whop, whip, right? That's a whip. Whip, right? Whip. That's how you whip. Instead of whipping out as hard as you can, start it slow, and then as you go through your motion, speed it up. At the end, whip it, right? So watch me. First, I'm gonna do it without the whip. And this is how I used to cast to try and get it as far as I can. Just whip it as hard as I can like this, and it works, but with the whip makes it faster. Ready? Number 1, without the whip. That was just straight, same power all the way through. Okay, Aaron's marking the first spot, and now we're gonna do with the whip, the slow motion whip. Okay, so for this one, we're just gonna start it slow, and then at maybe when I hit about right here, I'll really start to accelerate it. So we're gonna start it slow, gradually build speed, last second whip it out. Wow, a lot further. And also a lot more control. That is the most important part in my opinion, is that when you start it slower, you'll have more accuracy and you'll get it further. 1, 2, 44, 45, 46. 46 cranks to the first one. 54. This is the first tube that we hit. This was without cracking the whip. This was just straight acceleration all the way through, as hard as I could. And surprisingly, the next one where I start slow and start to whip it in and then crack it at the end is 1, 2, 3, 25 steps away. So That little motion of just whipping it at the end instead of right at the beginning gave me a bunch of extra steps. And sometimes that's all you need to really get over that sandbar. This looks like about the size of one sandbar. If you can just cast over that sandbar, there's a lot of fish on the other side, especially during a low tide and you need to get out there. Could really help you get some more fish. Tip number 3, we'll call this the pendulum swing. So first, I like to make sure that my sinker is about the first eyelid right here. It's not too high up where I don't have any control of the sinker anymore, and it's not too low down where it might drag on the floor as I'm casting. So I have it right here. Next, we're gonna swing it like a pendulum, look. And we're gonna take that momentum as this sinker is swinging back and forth. As it's going this way, I'm gonna turn it to a full circle. I'm gonna use the momentum. No jagged, like sudden movements. And that also goes along with that other tip. Starting it slow, gradually building up speed, whipping it at the end. All right, let's try this. Here's the first one. It's the normal cast. Aaron's gonna put the tube down, and then let's move on to the next cast. We're gonna move the momentum. Once that sinker is ready to make a full circle, I'm gonna gradually bring up that speed. Wow! I gotta say, it's really satisfying to watch it fly with the flag. That was significantly further. It's always so awesome to see that I used to cast much closer. I thought it was really far before, but I changed up my casting methods. I changed up a couple of little techniques, a little bit of movement here, a little bit of movement there, less fast in the beginning, more loaded in the middle, and I'm able to cast a lot further than I was before. 40 to the first one, 15. Little tiny motions that you can change and just adjust. It helps you get a little bit further, and that really makes a big difference. This is not a small distance. This is a pretty big gap. All right, I'm gonna count how many steps. 1, 2, 3, 43, 44. 44 steps. That's huge. My next tip is we're gonna change the sinker. Instead of using a 3-ounce sinker, we're gonna up the weight. The thing with using higher weights is your rod needs to be rated for a higher rate. My rod is rated 3-ounce to 10-ounce. It says that right here, 30 pounds to 80 pound braided line. So that means on the low end, using 3-ounce will work on this rod. On the high end, using up to 10 ounces will work on this rod. Using a 10-ouncer might be a little bit too heavy, especially if you have a big bait on there. So I'm actually gonna go down to an 8. And in North Carolina, they call this an 8-and-bait. They use 8 ounces of weight and a piece of bait, and they're able to cast really far doing this. Okay, so for my first cast, actually, I'm going to tie it with just my 3-ouncer to see how far it goes without the 8 weight. Now, depending on your rod, try going heavier without it being on the very end of the extremity. If you're rated for 6 ounces, try 4 or 5 ounces. It will probably help you increase the distance. Not only that, but having this weight helps you feel that connection at the end of your line. And that connection is really what I find to be helpful in controlling your rig, your line, everything. Okay, so we're gonna try with 3-ounce first. I'm gonna do the pendulum swing, I'm gonna whip it, and I'm gonna push-pull it at the same time. All 3 tips, let's see. Not bad for a 3-ouncer, but I think if we up the weight, it's gonna go much further. So now I've got 8 ounces on here. Let me give this a good cast. And I'm gonna implement all of the different methods at the same time. The push-pull method, crack the whip method, pendulum method, and now heavier weight. Casting with this 8-ounce, you really have to commit to the swing. You can't halfway go, you gotta go. So this first one here is that I cast it as hard as I could with 1 ounce of the sinker. Sometimes you just want 1 ounce because it's not that wavy out there. You don't need that heavy. But if you want to get far out there, you're gonna have to switch your weights up a little bit higher and able to reach those distances. I mean, this is a huge difference between the 1 ounce and then the 8 ounce. So I'm gonna go See how far it is exactly. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. 28 with the 1 ounce sinker here. 4. 24 reels in between. That is a huge difference. So upping the weight, you can get way further out there. 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 70. I've never counted this high before. What comes after 75? Oh, 76. That's pretty impressive. That is quite the difference between using a light sinker and a heavy sinker. Using a big sinker is not necessarily like optimal, because if there are not huge fish out there, little small fish, you will not be able to feel your bait being pecked off. And catching small fish and using a huge sinker is not as great as catching small fish on a smaller sinker. But sometimes if you need to get out there and you really need to cast it out far, you're gonna have to use a heavier sinker. Especially if the current is moving really fast, you're definitely gonna need to up your weight in sinker. So it's a balancing game. Final tip. Final tip is use a casting aid to get your bait all the way out there. Now this may be cheating to a lot of you guys, and it's not even legal in some places. I'm grateful to be using it in an area where it totally is legal. Use a drone. All right, this is my Swell Pro drone. This is made for fishing. This is actually called the Fisherman Max. Let me show you. It's all really compact, I love it. Look at that. This thing carries like, I think 7 pounds, but we're not gonna need that today. So we're gonna set it up real quick. Some people, they just cannot cast because either they're handicapped or they don't want to get wet or they just can't cast. Always fun to have a casting aid, because there are just some spots you just literally can't cast to, especially during a high tide. But having a casting aid helps you get to those spots. Not really cheating, because, I mean, unless you're in a tournament, but I'm not doing any tournament fishing. I'm just out here to have fun. And this is definitely fun. It's really easy to set up. And the best part is it's so compact. Well, that's not even the best part. The best part is that if it flips into the water, it can re-flip itself and fly itself out of the water. That is insane. If you guys have never used one of these before, there's a little bit of a learning curve. But just like anything, once you put a little bit of time into it, you get better, and it just ends up being so helpful and so cool that I do not regret learning. Look at that. The camera's attached. Look, you can see my face on it. Cheese. Now we're gonna attach my line. There we go. The line is attached to my rod, and then when you open this payload button right here, it drops it. Then the drone flies back. I have my drone. My line is out there with the sinker connected to my rod. And it's as simple as that. And right now I'm using this to drop it out to the sandbar out there, which is really far. This high tide does not allow me to cast to that sandbar. I'm just using a piece of shrimp, but honestly, I've used big pieces of fish, huge pieces of fish, and dropped it out there before and caught enormous, massive fish. I'm hoping to catch a redfish. I'm hoping to catch maybe a big whiting, something out there. Who knows? And now I'm looking at my screen here, just looking down at the sandbars. So I'm gonna drop it right here. I think this is a great spot. Payload off. Dropped. Close the bail. Return home is right here. And it should just fly right back to me. The only way to hit that sandbar is to bring a casting aid like that. I'm gonna cast out my other rods, and you guys can watch my rods bend for the rest of the day. This is the best part. This is our Sure Catch rig here. Super simple to use. We're gonna have that sinker right here. We're just gonna tie the line on, and we're gonna put bait, and we're ready to go. We've got a ton of already pre-tied rigs ready to go. We're gonna put this sinker through the main line like this, right? It's called a sliding sinker. Then we're gonna tie on our Sure Catch rig on the end of it. We're gonna peel it off. See this? This is our Invisa thread. It's like nearly invisible. And we're just gonna wrap up our bait like this so that little fish can't peck it off. Ooh, I'm on a fish. It's a good one. I see mullet jumping out there. Oh, it's a baby shark. Look at that. Not what I was looking for. I thought it was gonna be a nice big whiting. This is a bonnet head shark. They're pretty common, nothing to write home about kind of fish, but hey, I didn't get skunked. Did you get a bite? Whoa! As soon as I casted it, as soon as it hit the bottom, I casted it as far as I could out there. As soon as it hit the bottom, I got a fish on it. It's not a huge one, but let's see what it is. It's probably another little baby shark, honestly. Seems like there's a lot of them out there. No, it's a nice big mullet. It's a nice big whiting. Yeah. I hope I found a hole. Oh yeah. Look at that. Run and cast. One more rod. But why is this so slack? Oh yeah. Yeah. Seems like the fish are starting to come in. This one's pulling. Oh, that one's pulling too. Oh yeah. It's a big one. 2 fish at a time. Come on. They're still on. They're still on. It's right here in the surf. Let's see what it is. Big whiting! Huge whiting! Holy crap! That's a massive one! Look at that, guys. That's one of the biggest whitings I've caught. Oh! Doubled up, guys. Yeah! That's 3 fish for dinner right there, Aaron. Think about how you want to cook them up. Look at this big whiting here. Look at that bull whiting. And this was on our sure catch rig. These sure catch rigs have bigger hooks so they can catch bigger fish. Ah! Just because you can cast far doesn't mean you're going to catch more fish. That's a really big misconception. Actually, a lot of times I find fish really close in. For example, this is my shorter rod. I cast it maybe like 50 feet out, not even that far, just pretty close in. This big rod, I cast it really far out just to see. But you don't have to cast it really far. That doesn't mean that you're going to catch more or bigger fish. I think what's more important is accuracy and being able to know which hole to cast it into. Right here, I'm looking at this. I see a sandbar really close in, so I can cast one really close in. Then I can cast to the other side of that sandbar. So one close, one far. Oh yeah, it's a red. It's a red. All right, I don't want to pull the hook out of its mouth. So you gotta let it fight. These bigger fish, you gotta let it fight a little bit longer. Come on, come on. Woo! This one's fighting. Come on, red. It's definitely not a whiting. Definitely not a catfish. Maybe it's a jack crevalle, but I'm hoping it's a redfish, please. Yeah, it's a red. It's a red, guys. Yeah! Yes! I got a red drum. Oh yeah, that's exactly what I was praying for. I said I was gonna do this for my wife and I did it. And I got it. Woo! I think there's more out there too. Beautiful, beautiful. So we got red drum and bull whiting today. Looks like we're having fish for this week, Aaron. Pound it. Oh, I mean, I think that we have enough fish, but while there's fish out here, I'm gonna keep fishing. Let's put on another piece of bait. I just casted that one too. Well, actually, it is pretty big. It was a big whiting, actually. It's actually a huge whiting. Look at that. I thought it was not that big. It was just swimming towards me. Thank you guys for joining us. I hope you guys enjoyed watching our rod spin on the beach. It's always so fun to fish on the beach because you never really know what you're gonna catch. I got some good fish, gonna take it home to cook. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next week.